What's up, everyone? It's your boy Infrar-Ed. Welcome to the Scout Reports. Today I bring you an anime review of Bungo Stray Dogs, Episode 3. First and foremost, I'm sorry that this one is so late because I had some laptop issues yesterday, so I wasn't able to get the review out for you guys at that point. But good news, bad news of it all is Kabaneri was delayed today because of the earthquakes that occurred in Japan last week. And because of that, Japan is just showing Episode 2 this week. The one that we got last week was a leak on a leak. Imagine that. So it gave me a little bit of time to get things in order with my laptop, free things up, and bring you guys the episode review of this series today. So without further ado, let's get on to the review of Bungo Stray Dogs Episode 3. So we start this episode off with a little bit of backstory as we find out that last week during the bombing, the young man and woman that was involved in the bombing and that was the hostage was actually members of the armed agency. And we find out their names, which was Tanizaki and Naomi. The two are brother and sister, and they are really touchy-feely with each other. I mean, uncomfortably touchy-feely with each other, which it sends a little bit of a shiver up my spine because I hate seeing that anime. I don't know what's been going on with this whole incest thing in anime the last year or so, but we still get the same thing with these two characters here. So we find that out about our two characters, and we also just get to kick back and of course get a little bit of that comedy that this anime is known for. But one thing that I would like to say is that this episode is when things get real. I mean, before, like I said, I didn't have an issue with the comedy that went on in this series, but I was waiting on that tone shift because it is a seinen anime, so it's aimed towards more older audience, and it's not about high school kids trying to save the world. You got some adults doing adult things, and boy did we get this episode. But first, we start off with things just being a little bit smooth, as again we have our main character Akatsuki, we have Dazai, we have Kunakina, and we have the two people that we are now formally introduced to in Naomi and Tanizaki, as they're in a cafe and they're just kicking back and explaining things. And Kunakina actually asks Akatsuki if he can find out what each one of them used to do before they were in the agency. So we get a little bit of comedy as he tries to find out what Dazai used to do, and everything he named, he went off about 20 different things and each one was wrong. He was like, were you this? Nope. Were you a social worker? Nope. Were you an artist? Nope. Were you this type of person? Boo! And the comedy was just funny because everything he said, Dazai was either saying nope or a boo to, and we got that for about a good 20 or 30 seconds. Also, during this sequence, we also see a little bit more of Dazai as he's flirting with a girl in this cafe, and he's commending her hands like, your hands are so beautiful. I would love for you to strangle me. So, once again, there's that dark comedy that this series has been known for right now in a comedic sense. And he was able to find out that the two brother and sister, they were students in their former occupations, and we find out that Kunakina was actually a math teacher. So that kind of fits him as well, especially how close he is to that book and how he loves to look into it. As we continue to go on and try and figure out occupations, no one's able to figure out Dazai's. In fact, Dazai's occupation is so guarded and nobody can figure it out that they're offering a huge sum of money if someone could find out what it was. It was like 700,000 or 70 million. It was something really big. I don't remember the exact money right now, but I know if you could figure out what Dazai used to do before he was a detective, it was some racks. I mean, you got a lot of money for finding that out. So we get to that, we find out that no one knows what his secret was, and the crew is called back into the armed agency because they now have a job. And they get back to the job and they're met by this blonde lady who, again, Dazai takes his time to flirt with her because he commends her beauty again and said, hey, you're so beautiful, I would love for you to commit double suicide with me. What? This guy's a savage with the killing and the flirting, and the mixture of the killing and flirting at the same time. So while this is going on, Kunakina snatches him up and takes him to the back, and he's just wrecking Dazai, and you can just hear in the background, you can just hear you can just hear him getting beat up in the back while the young lady is explaining that she needs the armed detective agency to stake out a familiar seedy group of people in like an alley type location because she suspects that they're either dealing arms or they're doing some type of activity. Seeing that this should be a fairly easy mission, Kunakina decides to assign this as Akatsushi's first official mission with the agency because it's just a stakeout mission, so the stakes shouldn't be that high for him. However, he sends the brother and sister with him as well, and he cautions him that this area is controlled by a very dangerous and a very notorious team called the Port Mafia. And there's a person in particular that he tells him to stay away from. It's a character that is in dark clothing and he has black and white hair. It was a person that we saw at the end of the episode last week. Kunakina tells him if he encounters this person, don't try to encounter him or anything. Don't aggravate him. Don't do anything. Just run if you see this guy. Get out of here because he's so dangerous and his ability is so dangerous that even the agency wants nothing to do with him and try to stay away from him. And they can't figure out a way to stop him. It is here that the episode takes a dark turn, and I mean dark like fast and quick dark, as we find out that this person's name is Akutakawa, and he was the person we saw at the end of last episode after the credits, and he has a red black type shadow dragon, and the ability, his name is Rashomon, and we see him going into an area that wasn't really identified what it was, but he goes into the area with a bag in his hand and he places the bag on the table. When the two guards inside of the area question him about who he is and why he's there, he kills him with his ability, Rashomon, and then he walks away and the lady goes in to see what happened, and she's just scared out of her wits as she sees the two guards were just viciously murdered. And once she finds that out, the bomb blows up, killing everybody in the building as well as he walks away. We next go back to our D agency members, and we find out that they were led into a dark alley by the young lady that gave them the job. We found her name is Ichiro, and she is actually working with Akutakawa. See, it was a trap as she lured them into the alley for Akutakawa to find. It is here that we also learned that Tanazaki's ability is not a fighting ability. As she led them into the trap, she opens fire. She pulls out two submachine guns and just starts blasting at these guys after she reveals that she backed them into the corner on purpose, and Naomi jumps in the way of her brother, taking the full-on machine gun shots to the back, and blood is everywhere. And again, this is where we get that Seinen tone and that seriousness that we were expecting from this series. As she's on the ground, she could very well be dead. This, of course, enrages her brother Tanizaki, as once again he says his ability isn't for fighting, but what he can do is he can bring up a barrier of light, and within that light he can move around anywhere that he needs to. Tanizaki's ability is called Light Show, and once again he can make a kind of like a circle or an area around him full of like green snow type light. It looks like the Matrix almost, and he can move around this area freely, and he uses this to get the jump on Ichiro as he comes behind her and literally starts choking the life out of her for what he's done to his sister. At that moment, Akutakawa comes in from behind and just wrecks him from behind with Rashomon. And it is here that we learn more about what his ability does. See, Rashomon devours anything in his path. The space between him and the target pretty much gets ate up by, like Pac-Man, by this dark presence. So, knowing that, Ichiro gets up and she kind of like, apologizes and say, please let me take care of him. He just backhands her and then viciously berates her, saying, "You're a failure. I told you we need the Were-Tiger alive." So that broadens everything up, as well as the reason why he's there. You see, there is a huge bounty on the Were-Tiger right now in the underground. And of course, he wants to cash in on it being a Port Mafia member. So now that he's there, you got Naomi down, Tanazaki's down, and that just leaves Akatsushi by himself with this monster right now. He remembers Kunakina telling him if you run into this individual to run away, but instead what he tries to do is he grabs the guns and he starts shooting at Akutakawa. However, it does no good because, again, Rashomon devours anything that's in the space between them. So he eats up the bullets and pretty much devours the bullets. And he sends it forward, taking away our main character's leg at this point. And blood is everywhere as he's screaming in agony. I mean, he got wrecked. Oh my God. So it looks like all is lost right now. However, we see that Akatsuki was able to go into his were-tiger form, which did revive his legs. So he was able to put up a little bit of a fight at that point. Ichigo is still on the side as well, and as she starts shooting at him, the bullets are doing no effect to him, as she wonders if his ability or his skin is what's making it so hard that he can't do anything to her. However, we found out that was a mirage that was done by Tanizaki, as he still has a little bit of life in him, but that still does no good, as Akuta Kawa was able to take care of them once again almost effortlessly, and our team is down until Dazai shows up using no longer human to negate the powers of both the were-tiger and Akuta Kawa, ending the fight right now. And it is also here that we learn that the secret that Dazai was holding is that he was actually a member of the Port Mafia. So we get that bit of detail from Akuta Kawa, as he vows to capture that were-tiger and destroy the agency for getting in his way. And that pretty much ends our episode right there. So yeah, overall it was a pretty good episode. We finally got our central villain. We learn more about our characters overall, and we get a shocker that Dazai used to be an individual of bad people, so we knew it had to be something dark about this character, with him always wanting to kill himself and his affinity with wanting to do so. And man, I'm looking forward to seeing what Akuta Kawa can do. I mean, he's pretty savage, so to finally see that showdown that we know is coming between him and Dazai is going to be exciting. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about seeing that battle already. So yeah, that was the episode in a nutshell. Holler at me in the comments and let me know what you thought. Are you glad this series is taking a change that it needed? Again, I wasn't worried that it was going to be too funny, but when you had an entire episode of comedy, it just wasn't what I was expecting, as I explained last week. The feel of this show overall, it kind of feels like Soul Eater, or maybe even Full Metal Alchemist, in a sense that it can shift tones so seamlessly back and forth. But once it gets focused and centered, as we see in this episode, it's going to take you on an emotional ride that you're not going to be waiting for. I know I'm excited for the next episodes. It definitely passed the 3-episode test with me. So yeah, once again, let me know what you guys think in the comment. If you like the video, go ahead and drop it a like. And if you want to hear more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, as I bring you guys content almost daily at this point. So on that note, as I always say, you guys can be anywhere on YouTube right now, but you chose to listen to me, and I really appreciate that. So with that being said, be sure to join me here tomorrow as I review JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, as well as Saturday I'll have Kiss Neighbor for you guys as well. So on that note, once again, thank you for joining me. It's your boy Infrar-Ed with the Scout Report signing out. See you soon.